My friend won't let anyone in her house after 9:30, and I just found out why. They're the happiest couple that I've ever met. Like, if you didn't believe in love, this couple would make you believe in it. But one evening, it all came crashing down. I arrived at JC's house at 5 p.m. sharp. She is obsessed with time, always wondering why someone's a minute late or a minute early, as if she's a detective and you're in her interrogation room. But before I get into what happened, let me tell you a little bit about JC. She's got pitch black hair, a nose ring, wears dark clothing. She's the type of girl that has pumpkins sitting out in the beginning of September. And she's super welcoming. Actually, the rug on her front door reads, "Leave now." So tonight I was going by her house because me and her had planned a movie night. But we had to start the movie night at 5 because she never lets anyone in her house after 9:30. As soon as I walked into her house, I immediately smelled cinnamon cookies. I was hoping they were for me, well, for us. But JC just brought in a big bowl of popcorn and some drinks, which was fine. I certainly wasn't going to complain and lose her trust for the next 2 decades. Then the movie ended. We thought Halloween 2 was okay. While JC went upstairs to find another movie, I decided to give myself a tour of the house, and here's when things started to go wrong. I was just glad she was willing to watch another movie and that she was letting her friends back into her life. She hadn't really been social since her and Tyler broke up. No one knows what happened between them, just that they were together one day and then the next day they weren't. After the breakup, no one heard from Tyler again. Then we started the second movie, Saw 4. She fell asleep during the movie, and the next time I checked my phone, it was 9:15. I thought, I better get going soon, even though she probably wasn't gonna wake up in the next 15 minutes. I headed over to the kitchen to grab a glass of water before leaving, and then I saw those cinnamon cookies on the counter, and I was like, she's not gonna miss one, right? After finishing the cookie, I turned on the water on the sink to wash my hands, but I was trying to be like really quiet because I didn't want to wake her up. The water didn't wake her up, but my scream did. Last thing I told you is JC awoke to my scream. I saw the face of a man outside of the kitchen window. She ran to the kitchen and I told her to call the cops. What did he look like? She asked me, but I didn't know. He was definitely a man. I think he was white. She burst out in laughter and said, "That's enough scary movies for tonight." But I was refusing to leave because I had just seen a man. I knew I saw a man out the window. Then I saw the same man through the living room window, except JC saw it too. She ran to the front door and I thought she was making sure it was locked, but no, she was making sure I didn't look through the peephole. I ran up to her and yelled, "Move! We need to be able to identify this guy for the police." Confusion hit me. Why won't you move? She broke down and started crying. At this point, I could tell that she had basically given up. She was hiding something. She said, "You know that old woman that me and Tyler visited?" Now, let me just preface this. Tyler and JC were about as open-minded as people come. They tried basically every religion, and they were meeting up with this woman because she claimed to have some certain abilities. While she was telling me this, the man was still banging against the door. But as open-minded as they were, she told me that when she met up with the old woman, they couldn't help but laugh at her claiming to be one of the last real witches in the world. I tried to look around Jackie to see what was going on outside, and that's when I saw it. This was the stuff of nightmares. The man was on all fours and had pitch black eyes. And when he opened his mouth, he had cat-like teeth. She got up and ran to the kitchen and grabbed the tray of cinnamon cookies. I'm like, what are you doing? Why are you not freaking out? Then she walked outside and started giving this half man, half creature these cinnamon cookies. And that's when I realized Tyler always did love cookies.
Something really scary happened to me. I don't want this to happen to anybody else. I opened my Snapchat for the first time in a long time, and I saw that I had a new friend named Al. I don't know an Al. I haven't added an Al. I messaged Al and I said, "Who is this?" And he said, "Hey, it's my Al. How are you doing?" Off the bat, he has poor grammar. So I messaged him again. I say, "How did you get my Snapchat?" And he said, "I'm sorry if I made you feel uncomfortable. You added me as a friend on Snapchat." Believe me when I say I did not add Al on Snapchat. I don't know an Al. I'm literally shaking thinking about this. So I said, "No, I didn't. I didn't add you on Snapchat." And he said, "I'm sorry, I must have been mistaken. Maybe we have mutual friends." And I said, "You added me on Snapchat. You're a liar." And then he gaslights me, trying to make me think that I added him. I'm really lucky that I'm not stupid or gullible, or I could have fallen for his tricks. So I asked Al, I said, "Did you hack my Snapchat?" And he said, "No, I didn't hack your Snapchat account. If you're concerned about the security of your account, you can contact Snapchat support to report any suspicious activity." So I reported him. He's literally trying to manipulate me into trusting him. Then I go to block him and I can't. I swear he hacked my Snapchat. Please tag Snapchat. We need to get to the bottom of this.
This is why you should never play hide and seek. A mom decided to play hide and seek with her 2 kids. The mom began counting, ready or not, here I come. She begins searching the downstairs kitchen because she knows that they hide there every single time. As she's walking to the kitchen, she starts saying, I wonder where they are. She looks under the table and sees they aren't there, which is kind of odd. She knew they were too scared to go into the basement alone, but she decided to check anyway. They weren't there either. She began to panic. The mom then says, Jordan, Casey, come out now. Mommy's not playing anymore. There was no answer. Panic really begins to set in. She decides to call 911 and reaches an operator. She tells the operator what's wrong and the operator sends an officer to her house. Once the officer arrives, he says, don't worry, we will find them. As she's sitting in the living room, she hears giggling and laughing and hears a closet door slam upstairs. She sprints upstairs and says, Jordan, Casey, you worried me sick. She opened the closet door and nobody was there. While all of this is going on, she hears the doorbell ring. She runs downstairs and finds the officer holding Jordan and Casey. The officer says, they were hiding in the shed out back. Then Jordan looks at mommy and says, why were you telling us to stay in the shed?
Don't open your eyes. On the last day of every month, close the blinds or curtains before you sleep. If in the middle of the night you hear a tapping noise at your window, don't open your eyes. If you're one of the unlucky ones, you'll hear the pebble sound at your window. It's not a friend, just keep your eyes shut. The sound will get louder, the tapping will get faster and faster. Don't let your curiosity get the better of you. Don't move. It'll lose its patience, it'll start thumping the window. Your window will shake and shudder and the noises will only get louder. It will furiously pound the window and shake the panes. Don't worry, the window won't break, but for goodness sake, don't open your eyes. No matter how scared you are, no matter how badly you want to scream, pretend you don't hear, pretend you're still asleep. After a while, the noises will stop. Don't fall for it, keep your eyes shut. Try to sleep if you can. Don't get up, don't open your eyes until the sun comes up. Those who do open their eyes, well, no one really knows what happens.
When you go home at night, don't turn your lights on immediately after you get in your apartment, especially if people can see the windows of your apartment from the street, because if someone's following you home, they're gonna know what apartment you live in. When I got home tonight, I got out of my car and there was a man getting shit out of his car. I had never seen him before this morning when he was in my apartment complex area, and he just gave me bad vibes, but whatever. I got out of my car at night and he tries to make conversation with me about my headlight because it's out right now. I'm like, oh yeah, I know, I just have to get around to it, whatever. I go inside, don't turn the lights on, but I have a feeling to check my Ring camera. He's standing in the street, which is very close to my apartment building, staring at my building, and he did not leave for like 5 minutes. I mean, like halfway through, he left the empty parking spot and hid behind a car, but he waited to see. So now he knows what car I drive and where I live, just not my apartment. So, don't turn your lights on.
Some creepy shit just happened and I tried to explain it on my secret account, but I didn't explain it really well. So I'm gonna talk about it on here. Mind you, I didn't even think this was creepy until somebody else said it was, and then I started to realize and I was like, oh shit. So I was on my way home from work, right? And I stopped at karaoke night to say hi to a few friends. And I left early because I was supposed to get home early to help my mom get my stepdad up the stairs because he just got out of the hospital. Anyway, so I left karaoke night, I said goodbye to my friends, whatever, and I like started walking and there was this cat. This cat walked right by me, looked exactly like my kitten. And like I thought the cat got out when my mom was helping my stepdad down the stairs to bring him to the hospital earlier. So I started following him. I was like, Mr. Kitten! And like I followed this cat for a really long time, like down different streets. Like I did not want to lose this cat. Like I was following this cat for like 20 fucking minutes before this cat turned onto my street and started running. So like for whatever reason I started recording because like he was like getting out of eye shot. Like I wanted to see if I could like zoom in to like see him. And then like we went further down the street. We were on my street now. And like the cat turned and ran up my staircase. So like I started running to like follow him. Like at that point I was like, yes, this is definitely my cat. Like he knows where he lives, you know? And I got there and the fucking cat was gone.
Where'd the kitty go?
Like there's a lot of snow by my stairs, but like I heard the cat under the stairs, right? And so like I trudged through the snow to like look under. There was no cat. Like the cat was not fucking there. He just disappeared. And then I realized the porch lights were on and I was like, oh shit, my parents got home before I did. I had spent so long following this cat, like I completely lost track of time. Like I forgot, like I was supposed to like help my mom bring my stepdad upstairs. And I was supposed to be the one to turn the porch lights on when I got home first. It's like the lights were already on and I was like, oh shit. Like I was freaking out, like I lost the cat, like I didn't know where the cat went. It's like I got inside, like I was ready to cry. And like I walk in, all the lights are already on, like my parents are home, and both of my cats are just sitting in the hallway. And like I was talking to my parents about it. I was like, I'm sorry I got home so late. Like I was following this cat, like I thought it was Mr. Kitten, you know? And they told me they were glad I followed the cat, but like the cats had never left the house. They're both indoor cats. Like Mr. Kitten is a runner. So like I was right to think that like that was Mr. Kitten, but like he was there the whole time. The cats did not step foot outside the house. So whose fucking cat was that? And why did it take me down like all these different streets? And how did it know exactly where I fucking lived? And why did it disappear at the fucking staircase? And for anyone wondering what happened to my stepdad, he fell earlier today and like, so he's on crutches now and like he had to wear a neck brace for a little bit, but he's okay. But what the fuck?
This is why you should always keep pictures of your parents. A little girl named Olivia who lived a very quiet life decided to check her homework assignments that were posted online. The teacher posted that they needed to write down their favorite memory with their family as well as bring a photograph. Olivia then writes about how her and her mom play dolls every night in the basement before bed and that she has a lot of fun doing so. She finishes her paragraph and then looks in her dad's drawer for a photograph of mom. She only found pictures of her mom from high school but decided to use it anyway. Olivia goes to bed and wakes up the next morning. Once she arrives at school, the teacher then says, let's start presenting our project. Then the teacher called Olivia's name to present. Olivia then begins to read about how her and her mom play dolls every night and then pulls out the photograph. As soon as Olivia pulled out the photograph, her teacher's face goes numb. She then asks Olivia if she can take a closer look at the photograph. She then recognized her mom as one of her previous students. Then the teacher asks, where did you get this photo? Olivia says, my dad keeps them in his drawer. The teacher, shocked, sits down Olivia and pulls out an old newspaper. The newspaper headline, local high school teen murdered, boyfriend gone missing. The teacher then looks at Olivia and says, your mom has been dead for 14 years.
So for the first time in a really long time, I actually had something scary happen to me last night. So I was up really late because my boyfriend's in Vegas and their time difference is 2 hours behind. And he goes to bed really late. So for the past few days, I've been staying up till 4 a.m. until he falls asleep. So last night I decided I wanted to get some food, a late night snack. And at this point, I think it's like 2 a.m. And in my basement, I hear some rumbling and fumbling, but nobody's down there. Everybody's asleep. I don't have any pets. My dog's dead. I don't have any pets. So I'm in the kitchen listening, and my kitchen is right here, and like the stairs to the basement is right there, and like my house is low-key empty, so you could hear everything. And I start hearing little whispers, a little. So I'm sitting there eating my snack, and I hear that shit, and I pause the YouTube video I was watching, and I start hearing footsteps come upstairs. So I sat in my backyard for the rest of the night, up until like 3 a.m., and then I went inside and went to bed.
This is why you should always breathe through your nose. In 2009, a Russian man named Artyom Sidorkin started experiencing intense chest pains to the point where he couldn't even stand up. He tried to ignore it, but when he started coughing up blood, he went to the emergency room. They gave him an x-ray, and it revealed a fist-sized tumor growing in his lung. Afterwards, the doctor told Mr. Sidorkin, unfortunately, it looks like cancer. But before they could start removing large chunks of his lung, the doctor needed to do a biopsy to see if it really was cancer. So a terrified Mr. Sidorkin came in a few days later. They performed the biopsy, and the surgeon, as he was looking at the tissue, noticed something. Tucked in the middle of the tissue was a 5-centimeter long fir tree. Mr. Sidorkin was a botanist, and he was a big mouth breather, and at some point while he was working, he managed to inhale a fir tree seed. The doctors told him he didn't have cancer, he had a tree. He was shocked, and he said, I had no sense that a tree was growing in my lungs. But more than shocked, he was just happy to be cancer-free.
Have you ever met someone who wouldn't take no for an answer? That's what happened to Jillian, but things took a strange and unexpected turn. Jillian always went to this one cafe, and one day she bumped into a young man. His name was Charles. Charles came from a wealthy family and thought that no woman could ever say no to him. He asked Jillian to have coffee with him, and she did. They had a friendly conversation for a while, but by the time the cafe was about to close, Charles gently grabbed Jillian by the hand and asked her out. She said, I'm sorry, you're just not my type, and left. This made Charles furious. From then on, he'd come to the same cafe every single day to hope that Jillian was there. It got to the point where Jillian would look through the window and see Charles waiting for her. She'd feel uncomfortable and leave. It just seemed like he wouldn't take no for an answer. But things were not so simple. One day, it was the final straw. Charles brought flowers to the cafe and waited for Jillian. When she didn't show up, Charles took the flowers, threw them on the ground, and stomped on them. He yelled, "That's it, I'm gonna make you my girlfriend if it's the last thing I do." The next day, he looked up Jillian's address in the phone book and went to her house, but he could never have expected what he would find there. He knocked on the door many times until he heard Jillian's voice say, "Charles, what the heck are you doing?" Charles replied, "I don't get why you wouldn't go out with me. We had such a great conversation in the cafe." Jillian replied, "I already told you, you're just not my type. But if you really want to know what my type is, I can show you." Then she opened the door. Charles stepped in. "You see that door at the end of the hallway? Go in there and you'll see the type of man I like." Charles eagerly went in and saw a staircase leading down to the basement. What happened next would shock anyone. When he got to the bottom of the stairs, he smelled a horrible rotting smell. Then he saw that he was surrounded by 12 or 13 bodies nailed to the wall. All of them were headless. On the table against the wall, their heads were arranged in a row. Suddenly, Charles felt a tap on his shoulder. He turned around and saw Jillian with an axe. Jillian swung the axe, and as Charles's head flew across the room, Jillian picked it up, looked it dead in the eye, and said, "Now you're my type."
Okay, me and my girl, we decided to go clubbing. We went to Moloko, the other club called Moloko in London, right? So we're driving. She's coming from Joburg, so she came and picked me up at my place, and then we went to Moloko. Cool. We get there. Moloko opens 11 at night, and then it closes 6 in the evening. No, 6 in the morning. Cool. So we get to Moloko, we get our friends there, and then we just, getting comfortable, start vibing to music, we start dancing, drinking, and all of that. So while we're dancing, I bump into this other girl. She's friendly. She starts talking to me. We just start vibing. We start dancing. Very beautiful girl, like very beautiful. Name. We start dancing. So I invite her over to my table, and then our table, because she's such a darling, right? And I liked her, and because I fuck with energies, right? So cool. Me and this girl, Atomo, whole being able and then I asked her, I'm just gonna call her Banana. So Banana tells me, I ask her, where you from? She tells me, Sosha. And I'm like, Sosha, how did you get here? I don't know, I'm visiting my friend in Acadia, but initially I am from Sosha. And I'm like, oh, okay, so when are you going back? I have to be in Sosha today in the morning at 8. And I'm like, then why are you clubbing all the way this far? No, I just decided to come here because it's my last night. Get the Lachomiaka go Acadia. So, and I've been hearing about this Moloko place. So I just wanted to check it out, and it's actually cool. So I asked her, how are you gonna get to Sosha from here? I don't know. I was thinking of bolting. So you're gonna request from here to Sosha area. Gonna get okay. How much is it? Because it's like when you think about it, from Sosha to Mainland, it's actually very far. I don't know. The bolt is like 300 and something, and then I think about it and I'm like, ish, how stories about Bolt, and I'm like, ish, no, it's not safe, Rabo. So you know what, I tell her, me and my girl, we're driving, so how about Orfe Mama 150 2 pass, so then we'll drive you back home in the morning. Cool, she's happy, we agree on one thing. Fede. The night is still, we continue drinking. It's home night, it's a vibe, these new trends. I'm a piano, what's it? Go home night, Waba? So I done already told my girlfriend, okay, so this is what's gonna happen. I met this girl, Ashun, and then we're gonna take her home and so and then we'll just fill up the gas with the money she gave us, right? Okay, so this is part 2 of the story, right? So telling my girl Uguti, there's a certain girl, Ashu, like we were dancing together, so okay, so this girl needs to be in Soshakanako Esolo, and I can't let her ball because it's a bit expensive, so I told her that Arfeniana eating and then we'll drop her off because we trying to keep everyone safe. Cool bit. So fine, homonate JV. Me being me, I'm there taking videos with everyone. Even this girl, now we taking pictures together, of the vibe, whatsoever. It's cool. So 6 years Moloko is closing, and then we have to part ways. So we're gonna leave soon, because Natalie Lily, the friend who she was visiting, and then Are, the friend. So give me a second, what about like your clothes? Abo? She was like, oh, like the way she was so pop drunk. She was like, oh, konje, I still have my belongings. Koyena. I don't know. I'll come back to fetch them. Yeah, boy. Right now I just need to get to Sasha, and I'm like, okay, no problem. Cool, right? So we went to the car. We got there on Nagomarao. So normally what my girl and I do, we play music on our way home every time after clubbing, right? So fair. Girl is sitting at the back, and then my girl tries making conversation, like asking her questions. Shabo Arab, it's all good, fair. And then what happens? We get to the N1. I don't know. Okay, majority of people who know Sosha will know that N1, Elayoya, Sosha Nguvu. So fine, guys, we're driving. And then in the middle of nowhere, because Lewin and Wanika, like, there's a part where, like, Ahuna didn't on both sides, right? Monos Nandin Mugele, or Botagam Kelung Hore, Rena, we must remove more. And I'm like, girl, what do you mean, Rufulus? She's like, no, you guys can drop me off here. Now my destination ends here. And I'm like, what do you mean your destination ends here? And I'm like, no, it's probably the alcohol speaking. Yabo. Girl was like, no, Kiremara, like, mepe osar saya kopele so orabiang. And it's literally in the middle of the road, more highway, nochal. And there's no houses to your left and to your right. The girl was like, no, Gifulohamo, please stop the car. Gifulohamo. I looked at my girl and I'm like, my girl, I pakela on the side road. Guys, y'all won't believe. Okay, part 3 of the ghost story. So fine, I ended up by saying that, okay, we parked on the side road. My girl decided to leave. She said what she said. I took her things and asubella mom. I said we parked like both sides were just trees and just bushes. So asubella go ditlhareng hana mo slating mom asubella kana kwale. It was so weird. It was so weird. I was panicking because why the fuck is she doing this? Like, it's not making sense. It's not adding up. You know, first of all, you're a woman, and guys, we all know Komoloko Reap Arabic. She's wearing a stepe. She's a woman. She's pretty. Like, what? I'm not gonna stop her or anything. Fine, fade. I tell my girl, you know what time I am freaked out. I am drunk. I'm just in my own world. Shit is happening. I became sober straight. Let's go. I saw a question on the comments asking if she paid us. Yes, she did send me the money. I received the cash. Cool. I saw another comment just to correct myself. It was not the N1, it was the RAT on your way to Sasha. Cool. So give them the can we vibe? Better you tene. More highway, mind you. You tene, more highway. Cool. Better you tene, we got home. When we got home, I told her, you know what, let's just sleep it off. We'll talk about it when we wake up, right? Cool. Headed to my phone is battery low. So guys, we know when we groove and take videos, obviously like the following day we'd want to like check the snippets that we took and all that. Cool. I'm talking fast because of time, right? Cool. I check out charge your phone, molly to my gishaba nepets and mobani. More that girl. She's not there. The videos, the pictures, she was not there on the pictures, right? I'm freaking out. Something tells me to check my balance. I still have the SMS that, you know, I received money from her, you know, right? But my balance, I can't, when the transaction is like, it's not there. It's not there. It's not there. The money is not there. It just disappeared and just like that, right? Cool. I wake up my girl and be like, yo, this crazy shit happening here. What the fuck is going on? My girl told me about something about ghosts. What like we had a very deep conversation. I'm both like, no, these things are real. What guys, we grouped with the ghost. I took pictures with the ghost. A ghost sent me man that did not reflect the following day. Okay, it did reflect the minute she sent it. The following day it disappeared out of the blue. She disappeared on the pictures we took, on the videos that we took. What's going on? Like, what? Guys, all I can say is that y'all be careful. You know, just be careful. Take care of yourselves because these things are real. And pray.
Can you solve this mystery? This is the story of the missing girl from a small village in Japan. All the clues are hidden in what I'm about to say. Once there was a girl named Madoka-chan who went to the park with her mother for a play date with her friend. While she was playing with her friend, her mom started chatting with the other girl's mom. When she looked back, Madoka was gone. The other girl said she went to play on the slides by herself and she hasn't seen her since. Madoka was reported as a missing person. Her parents and the police searched for months with no progress. 6 months later, her parents decided to try one last thing. They called a psychic. They brought in some of Madoka's belongings, and when the psychic touched them, she went into a trance. She shut her eyes and said, "Your daughter is still alive. Her heart still beats and her lungs still breathe. Her eyes gaze at a luxury home. Her stomach contains only the finest cuisine." Her parents hugged each other, ecstatic. They knew their daughter was still out there somewhere. They asked, "Where is she now?" The psychic hesitated for a moment before her eyes opened and she said, "Madoka-chan is all over the world." What happened to the missing girl? Let's see if you can solve this mystery.
Guys, niphi sana urumencokola neziporho in the middle of the night. First ke umntu hamba nqunu, hamba brutsu like birthday suit in the middle of our dorm room that we share. Hleli phansi yena midnight ke phofu uyancokola nento engabonwayo. Sana guys, ngike nayigoka into eres story time. And I got to first day sana I got to varsity now. I'm excited, like nonwabile, whatnot, can't wait to start whatever sharp. Dimane no roomie ke sana, get introduced to my roommate, whatnot. I'm glad that she's not weird, like she's a vibe and everything. She seems fun, sharp. Go. What's nice is also that on Sundays, on student Christian fellowship something ne, school and sharp, we go on Sundays. And I'm still sharp ke sana. We go together every Sunday. So that's sana, like every middle of the night I will wake up and when I wake up she's normally awake. Ne? And she'll be chilling on the floor. Dark, like umnyama. Timbus by man room, like what is going on? Like is everything okay? Yabo? They know two like we're clearly in the middle of our dorm room, yabo. We share a room, must ne. Sharp. I guess she's just taking a little bit of a break. She was studying and whatnot. Then this one time, ne, I was groggy. I was not fully awake. But this kind of guy in the middle of the night, I remember it was a weekday. In the middle of the night, ne? And my friends and I had been grooving that night. Sibuye phango 12 yabo ndihambe ke sharp nolala. But in colors and uthuka ndilele ndifike yena ehleli as usual, ne? Sharp. Ndixa nothuka yo mani kumnyama mos in our room. She switches off the light now. I can't deal with the lights off, but it is what it is because I'm chilled. And I'm hearing sounds like somebody's talking here, ne? Like ndiyathetha. And I'm just and someone is responding. Like I'm trying to figure out, is she on the phone? Is she playing her laptop or whatnot? It doesn't sound like a sound that's coming from a device store. It sounds like lomdulapa man, like it's here. The two get but normally when I come to tuka and pagami bit, but I pagami this time. To my mail again, my melisis. A man like he kind of lom to utugurumi, why bunga vuganizol? Because I has a besuklin deal. Lindwe P, like I don't understand. I don't really know. Thing is, mnandenda lala late. So go wa end up fall asleep. Elindem nabaman lale. Like she's saying my name as she's talking to this person, whoever. Yeah, man, is not make sure. And the next day, things go on as usual. I'm a bit weary because I'm like, okay, Lulu, you need to stop drinking now because you're imagining your own stuff. Yeah, but that same night, ne, on my ass, no, I saw them for like inanga yenzanga. I'm going to stay awake, but I'm not going to tell her that I'm awake. Ne, I'm not going to tell her that I'm awake. La lake, shut and look while I get guys that time. I did look while. Bed to 10, bed to 11, bed to 12. So my eyes now are starting to yabo. Because normally I sleep like around about my 9, 10, yabo, sharp on a weekday. As I'm about to fall asleep, because I'm like, man, Urumi and Dimva, I'm hearing no movement, nothing's happening. Sharp, ninga awake. As I'm about to fall asleep, Dimva, paramepetin. Like I can hear her open her cupboard. She opens her cupboard and then she sprays umzimba wakhe ne. Aspira and Bible, you know, sprays her in the middle of the night. And when she sprays ne, she has one of those strong like scents, perfume. Yeah, but man spray perfume lomd. Uyapi. Sharp. ndivukile ke ngoku, like I'm awake sharp. Ndive mane gushuze senzela nayenzayo ubhizi azula ogqiba ke ngoku ahambe ibingathi uzawuphuma, like obviously you can hear the sound, the direction of your footsteps zomntu ahambe ingathi angathi bengumntu uzophuma umnyango but angaphumi. Ndimve sithi dimfi uhlala phansi like she's on the floor. Qomba okay, ndithi ke sana ndisahleli ndithi not long after that sana aqhwaba izandla, kubona umuntu xa ezawuthi umuntu thokoza gogo or something, aqhwaba izandla ne ogqiba abize like inzathi zindoni she starts calling like her clan names, grandfather, grandmother, yonke loo nto man. Kubone like I don't know man describe njani, but like abize like the elders, like you can hear okay these are the elderly people like in her family line or whatever yabo, sharp abize whatever. After eyenze yonke le nto ne ye man ndithi kuphendule like a voice, like uphendule like qonda ivoice yomntu uphendule umntu. Ithi voice sana sawubona asana yo dude, like my skin Nkosi yami ndithi sana hey ndatsiba klobhedi, like ndingumntu normally ongajambisiyo ne but nqoba asoze never. Who is saying someone asana in our room? Because I know I didn't hear her press a call, I didn't hear her call anybody, but just based on someone asana xa bekutheni yu tsiba ebhedini, tsiba sana ebhedini with my phone in my hand ke ndabalenga nayo light isibane navula umnyango, so ndivule umnyango light isibane and making the doorway ke ndimjongile xa sibana nayo wothukile sana. Guys, as I'm switching on the lights, brute in the middle of our room. Nuka sana a perfume. Sana, I'm looking around about who was she talking to? Because she got up, she got undressed, she sat in the middle of the floor, but before she sat down, it was spray like time is she's going to go somewhere. You know, like maybe you have one of those appointments. To wahlala phansi sana voice njani? P, is the voice coming from the perfume? Like, what's going on? Yo, bod. Sana guys, nama sana emnyango, and I'm like, who was that? Oqaba sana girl, and she started like shaking and stuff. I'm like, okay, like yo yikane, like ubona like how and was actor, like she didn't improvise nothing. She just started shaking. So yika. Did guys nambon ba son? That was ba sana. Who are you talking to? I can't pendula sana asanda baleka ke mnake. Ndayo nqonqozela isabhodini ngepast 12 ebusuku nsithi andizukwazi. I'm not going back to that room.
Have you heard of the Can You Hide game? We've all heard of Bloody Mary, Charlie, and those games are scary, but they're nothing compared to the Can You Hide game. It's not something you can find on the App Store or the Google Play Store. There's nothing about the game on any public websites except this cautionary post. It doesn't matter if you're a good or a bad person, it chooses its targets randomly. No matter how hard you try, you can't avoid the game. Nobody can. First, you're gonna hear a ding on your phone, and then a window might pop up. All it will say is, can you hide? Yes or no. Make sure you pick no. When it first appeared on my phone screen, I was shocked. I thought it was like some sort of virus, and there's no option to close the window. There's only yes and no. I didn't want to infect my phone, so I decided to do some research first. I tried to Google it, but I couldn't find anything about the yes-no game. The only thing I could find is one thread that pointed me toward a Discord server. There was an entire category for this new game that started appearing on people's phones. Clicking yes apparently starts a hide-and-seek game with the unknown. When I read that, I was like, I don't know what this means, so I kept reading. The first person on the thread said, "Can anybody help me? Nobody seems to know anything about this game. My friend played it nonstop for a week and then he went missing. That was 2 weeks ago. There are daily search parties, but I don't think they're gonna find him. He told me it wasn't a game. He said he saw a face outside of his window." Some people said you have to select no. Other people said it destroyed their life. Some people said the only way is to not choose anything. Just leave it on your phone forever. Someone said, what if I just turn off my phone? The last comment on the thread, it's your funeral. The more I was reading, the more anxious I felt, and I still didn't know what to choose. I finished reading the Reddit thread, and I told myself I was just being a big baby. Just choose yes or no. It's not that hard. I had finally decided what I was going to do. I turned my phone off, and I took it a step further. I reset my phone to the factory settings. But when the weekend was over and I met up with my friends, I found out my friend Corey had been playing the Can You Hide game. I was about to tell him that he was supposed to choose no when he threw down his phone. It was already open to the game window. Apparently, he'd been playing it all week. On the phone screen, there was a map with a little green marker indicating his location. Then there was a little red marker that was slowly getting closer to us. Every day, once a day, from 2 to 4 in the afternoon, Corey had to hide. It tracks your location, so you have to keep moving. I checked my watch. It was 10 minutes to 4. But Corey wasn't hiding. He was in the park with me. And the red marker also just arrived at the park. It had found Corey, and my gut told me something very bad was about to happen. Then Corey jumped up and screamed. That's a wrap. 4 o'clock again. I bested the game. But when he checked the map, it was only 100 feet away from him. I checked his phone. It read, "You avoided the creeker by 121 yards. Then I heard something that terrified me. There was a creak. I looked up from the table and looked around. Corey didn't even seem to notice the sound. I checked Corey's phone again, this time looking for the red dot on the map. It was in the forest about 100 feet away from us to the left, so I looked over there. Peering around the bark of the tree was one of the scariest things I've ever seen in my entire life. There was something looking directly at us. It was not human. It was as short as a toddler, and its head, if it had a head, was wearing this peach-colored rubber mask. Almost the tone of human flesh, but not quite. But worst of all, it was smiling at me. Last thing I told you is the creaker was looking right at me. I told Corey, it looks like someone is actually seeking you. I pointed at the tree. I don't think you should play that game anymore. He looked over and didn't see anything and told me that my phasmophobia was really killing his mood. And I mean, I do have a proclivity for trembling at everyday sights and sounds. In my mind, there's always been a ghost or ghoul around the corner. Ever since my parents passed, I had been that way. But I knew I had saw that thing behind the tree. But since I have phasmophobia, it makes it very difficult for people to believe me when I think I see or hear something. My friends told me to go home and just get some rest. At this point, I was starting to think maybe I am going crazy. Maybe I'm on the verge of a psychotic break. The next day, around 5:30 in the evening, on my drive home from work, Tanya called me. She was one of my friends that was in the park the day before. I said, "I'm driving, what's up?" And then I realized she was bawling on the other end of the phone. "It's in the house," she whispered. "The game started playing, it's earlier than usual." I said, "Slow down, what's happening?" She said the game started at 6, and I think you were right. I think someone's actually seeking us. We saw a horrible face in the window, and there were creaking sounds in the house. We were hiding in the attic. I asked her if she had called the police, and she said they were on their way. It would be about 15 minutes. Then Corey told her they needed to be quiet. And then on the other side of the phone, I heard a creak. It sounded so close that I turned around to make sure that nightmarish demon wasn't in my car. At that point, I decided not to go home and to go check on them. I was only 8 minutes away from Corey's house, closer than the police, but not by much. I was still on the phone with them, and I heard Tanya whisper, "How did it even get in here? I didn't see the door open." Then Corey goes, "He's not an it. He's just a child and he needs to leave her." He didn't get to finish his sentence because Tanya interrupted him, screaming, "What is that?" Corey started to beg. The screams of my two friends were deafening. I was so fixated on reaching the house that I didn't hang up the call. It was only as I pulled into Corey's driveway that I realized I had been listening to the sounds of squelching, snapping, and the most haunting of all, creaking. I barged in the front door and ran all the way up to the attic. I expected to find some sickening scene. The space was empty, and Corey and Tanya were gone. The police questioned me when they arrived, but my alibi was airtight. The call to the police was made before I had even left my office, and traffic camera footage put me too far from the scene of the crime during the call. The final verdict? Missing persons.
Story time. I babysat a lot of kids in my neighborhood, and there was this one night that I was babysitting a 2-year-old. It was around 10 o'clock at night, so the kid was sleeping, and I was just sitting in the living room. In the living room, there was a big TV, a couch, and then behind me, it was a wall with a giant window. So it was really late at night, I had nothing to do, so I was Snapchatting my friends. If you Snapchat anybody, I'm sure you know that sometimes you Snapchat really fast. You don't even know or look at what you're sending. I was mass snapping all my friends, and then one of them replied 10 minutes later. And he said, "Who's that guy behind you?" And I turned around and no one was there, so I'm like, he's playing a joke on me. But then I get another Snapchat from this friend I had, and she lives all the way across the country. They don't know each other. And she said, "I think there's someone outside." So I was really freaked out because I was alone. There was a giant window behind me. Apparently there was someone outside. I wasn't gonna call the child's parents because I didn't want to freak them out, but I was scared. So then I went around the house, locked all of the doors. Sorry, it's a really long story, like for part 2. Part 2. So yeah, there was a guy outside the window. So yes, I did lock all the doors and everything. I made sure everything was secure. I closed the blinds. So for the rest of the night, nothing else really happened other than this really weird thump. It was like someone was knocking on a window. Allow me to demonstrate. I ignored it because I was in denial that this was happening. The rest of the night was normal. The parents came home. I drove really fast home. And then the next morning I wake up. And apparently, an old man with Alzheimer's had escaped from his little home. I did not know this because it was dark outside, and even if I did see him outside the window, I wouldn't have known this. But he was naked. Naked. So it wasn't like a mass murderer outside the window, but it was a naked man with Alzheimer's looking at me through a window.
I dated a ghost without knowing.
Ntana spoke. Nipi. Yeah? Anyway, story time. So there was this one time, me and my friend Sahama Sovashelu Antwak. It was one of those December holidays. Sharp Sovashelu Antwak. So 2 days after sesfikile lapho, the first few days bebathi mabesithume esitolo like sihamba sonke because kune cousin yakhe, she was around the same age as me. So sharp masiya esitolo sihamba sonke. Stolo was 2 streets away from endlini ka aunt phela. So it happened good to this one time. Bangithume sinkange-1. I think kwakuze omalume angazi bekubusy, but ngisheshe ngithenge isinkwa in the morning. Sharp. Yimina lo ngithenge isinkwa ekuseni. Manje ngithi ngidlula komunye umuzi, so there was this other double store engapheli, like bayakhile kodwa ayikapheli. Like it has a roofing kodwa inama window, you know. It's an abandoned building, I might say, because it looks very old. So mase ngidlula lapho approaching isitolo. This other boy, mind you, at that time bengi mumbi. Yabona labantwana babi. But mabekhala, but bakakile. I was that kid. I was that ugly. And then it happened ukuthi lo mfana, he was a very nice boy, you know. And I think I was around 14 that time. 14 or 15, I'm not sure. Yeah, 14. So, lo mfana ngibize bekahlele ewindweni. Angibize on the window frame. Angibize ngithi mina wena mawufuna mina is, yabo? Mind you, the reason why I brought up indaba ukuthi phela bengimumbi around that time, it's mainly because this boy was so cute. And I've already have insecurities about boys and dating. I knew Guti, not a boy like that could ever even look into my direction, so I was like, he's calling me, like he wants to talk to me. So I, as a lomfana, make like me na angibulise angibuza ukuthi nginjani ngithi ngiyaphila, athi uyaqala ungibona la around and ngimtshela ukuthi hayi cha sizovakasha, yabo. So that's that. Sikhulume yabo. Ngimtshela ukuthi hayi mina bangithume isinko, so ngifuna ukushesha because basisheshile nasendlini basifuna like right now, yabo. Athi no, it's fine, can I please see you later? Can you please come and see me around 3 if not 2, yabo? Ngithi mina oh okay akunankinga ngizokubona phi ke because angina iPhone. Athi mina no, just come back here kule building uzongithola lapho. Ngithi mina okay. Mind you, I'm not even paying attention to anything in my environment that time. Kodwa nje ngidla ama smarties because boy, I saw guys sivumelana at that point ukuthi sizohlangana lokho intambama. Manje intambama mina mangisakhula bengiyazi ukuthi it's between 3 p.m. no 5:30. Sharp. And then from there on kusebusuku. Sharp sizana ukuthi intambama ngizoza on the same building. Sharp intambama Okay, ngithi mangifika endlini nesink, right? Because I used a different route ukuthi ngifike ekhaya. It was just a curvy street engibuyisela ekhaya. So sharp mangifika endlini ka auntie ke sengijabulile guys. I'm so happy at that point. Angikhumbuli ngidla. I never had breakfast. As much as I was the one who went to buy bread, I never ate breakfast. Okay, sharp. Ngilibele ngijahe isikhathi phela. I'm gonna meet my potential partner. And guys, like that boy was so cute. And then sharp afika 3. I say mase kushayo 3 ngeza vele. Afika 3 ngihambe. Same building, same roads, ngihambe ngingatshela umuntu guys. I never told anyone. And mind you, at that time, I think dating was an it thing. Ukuthi at that age, it was an it thing. All my friends, wanna get partners, all my friends, literally everyone who was in my age, who was in my age that time, bejola, having their first boyfriends, their first crushes. Yeah. So sharp ngihambe ngibona umfana. Mangifika impela vele ukhona guys. He was sitting on that window frame. Ngifike ngimbulise, ngifike ngihlale nami ku frame yo window. Mangicela ukuhlala, hayi sicoce Nkosi yami yazini sicoce. He was asking me about ukuthi ngiphuma phi yabo, ngimchazele how big is my family, ngimchazele ukuthi ngithanda ini, ngimtshele. Guys, siyaxoxa kamnandi. Do you understand? Siyaxoxa. Simase sixoxile angicela ukuthi ngibe intombi yakhe. Mind you, at that time phela ngisangamahloni. Uma ngikhuluma nomfana ngibheka phansi ngidla insipho. Hayi kube yilokho. Hayi angishaya umfana ngivumi. Ngizoba intombi yakhe. Okay, sharp. Bese kuthi mase kuyokushaya abo 5:30 kanje. Ilanga masele lithi liyahamba. Athi umfana, no, it's fine, it's getting late. Kungcono ukuthi ubuyele endlini ngizokubona kusasa. Same place, same time. Yabo? Ngithi mina nginankinga. Athi cela ihug, yabo ngimnike hug. Ngamnike hug umfana. I felt leya hug ne ngizwile. Sharp. And then ngibuyele ekhaya. Mangibuyele ekhaya, I wasn't looking back yabo ukuthi ngibone ukuthi uyahamba. Umfana angangikhaphi, right? Sengiyahamba ngithi umfana akangikhaphi. Umfana make ngikhapha, it's like a distance from that window to straight emgaqweni ukuthi angibuke ngihamba. Akangibekanga ekhoneni, akangibekanga anyway. So sharp, I don't have a problem with that. Jabulela ukuthi nje ngizombona kusasa. Ngihambe. Mase ngihambile ngifike endlini. I think my friend wangibuza ukuthi hayibo uqhamuka lapho wena wedwa. Ngitshela ukuthi hayi cha, ngiqhamuka to this other street. There's this other girl I was walking with. Okay, no problem. Lo mfana ngambona next day, ngambona on the 3rd day. And then makumele ngiyombona on the 4th day. Remember, same time, same place. Mangiyombona on the 4th day. Ngisaqoka. So my friend is like, "Hi, bo, where are you going? I wanna go." So I'm like, "No, izangikutshela indaba." So ngiyamtshela ukuthi nomfana engihlangene naye. So I've been seeing him. Ngamchazela. So she's like, "Oh, okay. Yeah. You know, I'll cover for you in case babuza ukuthi uyephi yabo." I'm like, sure. Angimnike wonke ama details because right now I have to leave. Remember, isikhathi city mase kuba sentambama uboza yabo. And me, I'm all about the smarties. Ngifuna ukudla ama smarties phela kulela window. So ngihambe mangifika kuye. Manje ngirealize ukuthi lo mfana ugqoke lento bekayigqokile izolo and the day before that and the first day I met him. So I'm starting to question myself ukuthi hayibo yini akanakhaya na, why ngashintsho akageza yabo. I sharp ngimaze same place, window frame, ngidla ama smarties ko right kodwa into engimangazile ukuthi lo mfana akaza ngicela ukiss. And it's a bit weird for ithandani ukuthi zingaqabulani into eyodwa engiyitholako kanye mase. So I get a bit concerned ukuthi kuza njani ungazi ungicabule Nkosi yami because abantu abathanda nako bayaqabulana. Kodwa I just brush it off fine. Bese ke kuthi masele ilanga seliya umfana athi kumina so ngizokubona kusasa, same day, sorry, same place, same time, ne. Ngithi mina ehena cause bengizohamba kuviki elizayo. Yeah, cause I was supposed to stay there. We were supposed to visit for 8 days. No, 10 days. Yeah, for 10 days. And mind you, bese kuyilanga lami les-6 that time, yabo. Ngithi sharp ngizokubona kusasa. Okay, angikhapha umfana cause the situation is that ungibeke emgaqweni uyangibuka ngihambi. This day I chose to look ukuthi ngimbone ukuthi uyahamba yini or uhlala khona la around close, ngimbone ukuthi ngene emzini muphi, so that because I was planning to tell my friend about the entire story ukuthi uhlala phi, wathini yabo. Manje ngimbuka umfana ubuyela kulela window masele ngiyokhona, so ubuyela kulela window. So I'm just like, oh, okay, maybe ufuna ukuchilla. Mangifika endlini, I get i-cousin yakhe and my friend, yabo. Umnganami, and then uyangibuza ukuthi ehena uthewe uthe uzongixoxela ngalomfana. So ngiyabaxoxela. Didn't the cousin look at me like, are you talking? She started describing the boy, the clothes that he was wearing from the day I met him till the day I last saw him. The way he looks, his hair, he literally described the way he speaks. He described everything, yabo. So my describe ake uyangitshela ukuthi hayi wena lo muntu lo ushonile. Lo mntwana loyo washona last year. They were playing in that building from the roof, from le phezulu, from the second floor. But umntwana wawa ngekhanda. Yeah. So ungixoxela njalo mina ngithukile ukuthi nichaza ukuthi mina bengithanda nespoke. And then they tell my auntie wakhe, my friend's auntie, they tell her ukuthi what has been happening this past few days. About I've been meeting this guy, this boy, and whatnot and what. Hey, my aunt was like, ukuthi uyosikhombisa la umbone khona. Ngithi mina bekumele sihlangane futhi ngo-3. U-auntie amathi siya.
I dated a ghost without knowing.
Athi yabona la uthi umbona khona uhlangana naye khona, or la uthi uzohlangana naye khona, the following day uhamba nami impela. Uhamba nami impela. So fine, the next day around about 2, mind you, that night auntie phela masisilala ulibele uyangithandazela ungifutha ngamanzi. Ulibele ungithela ngamanzi, and she's just praying and praying and praying and praying. Because if there's one thing I can tell you, kule yandlu they were way too Christian. I knew ukuthi they are way too Christian. Do you understand? So auntie ke, the following day we prepared to go there, and on that day I did not even I get happy. I did not even bath, you know. I'm just on my clothes, the clothes that I had the entire day. And in sharp we go to that building. Let's just figure out that building, that window. That boy was not there. Cause figure around 3:30. Around 3:30. There was no one. That boy was not there. Like literally, he was not there. And now, because I feel like they know, Uguti, surely I'm telling the truth because so I don't really know what happened to this kid. Yeah, but and how was I supposed to know? First of all, Uguti, and how do I get to describe him so good? So now into when I call Uguti at that point bengamboni, because they felt like I could see him but I just didn't want to tell them. They prayed on that spot bamcela ukuthi angeke spirit sakhe basithandazela ukuthi sibe free. They prayed because it was me, my friend, my friend's cousin, my aunt, nomunye mama, so ngazi umngani wakho umakhelwane, and nomalume, one of the uncles that came to visit. So they prayed. I kid you not, the next day they started packing our stuff because remember, we were supposed to stay for a good 10 days and we stayed for 9 days. On the 9th day, they dropped us off in my kaya, and that was that. I never encountered that boy ever again. And also on the next day, I never went out. They didn't want me to go out anymore. So yeah, guys, that was it. That was the last time I saw that boy. I think I must also add the fact that Nkile Ngampupa recently.
So as it turns out, there are scarier things than La Llorona that come out late at night. Storytime, the person who submitted this wants to be anonymous, so let's call her Kelly. Kelly grew up in South Africa. The home that she grew up in was owned by her grandparents, and it had been passed down from generation to generation. The land where the home was built on had a really dark past. A lot of Malaysian slaves had been unalive on that land many years ago, and the whole land in itself was just filled with a bunch of dark secrets. In the back of the house, there was land filled with trees and tall grass. This is where all of the neighbors would hang out. One day, when Kelly was about 6 years old, her and a bunch of the neighborhood kids decided to have a sleepover. At about 3 a.m., all of the neighborhood kids came over to her grandparents' house. It was a hot summer day, so all of the kids ran to the back of the house and were kind of hanging out near a stream just to try to cool off. The older kids told the younger kids to stay away from that area, but of course, the younger kids did not listen. As it started to get dark, probably about 7 p.m., the kids started to feel this eerie feeling. It was almost as if something was out there watching them. And suddenly, out of nowhere, they heard a woman scream. They have no idea where the scream is coming from, so they're all holding on to each other, completely terrified. Slowly, as if appearing out of nowhere, they see this woman just coming up from the top of the hill. The closer she got, the more terrifying she looked. She had a really long, flowy white dress and a huge sun hat. One of the little girls that was standing next to Kelly started to cry hysterically, while the other kids were way too terrified to even make a noise. The woman then continued to approach them and then stood right behind a rock near the stream. Once she got closer, they could see that her skin was so pale that it was blue, and she had the most sinister smile that they had ever seen. She then starts to sing in this high-pitched tune while the rest of the kids completely shook with fear. They then hear her whisper something under her breath, but they can't really make out what she's saying as she's moving closer and closer to them. Just as she was getting close enough to grab one of the kids, one of the boys screamed, which startled her. Luckily, at this point, Kelly's grandfather heard the scream, so he ran with light in his hand and started to recite the most powerful verse in the Quran. This is when the woman ran behind the rock and then disappeared into thin air. The kids did not hang around much after this. It has now been 14 years since this story happened, and most of the kids just try to say that they must have imagined it all. But it wasn't until recently, and I'm talking extremely recent, like February of this year, that Kelly dropped her daughter off at her grandparents' house, that she realized that they did not imagine this at all. I'm gonna have to do a part 2. This is part 2 of the creepy lady from the woods. So after the original story happened 14 years ago, Kelly and the rest of the kids believed that they must have imagined the whole thing. Until February of this year, that Kelly went and dropped her daughter off at her grandparents' house, the same house. Kelly's parents are not the ones that live in the house. Kelly had a doctor's appointment to go to, so she dropped her daughter off. She wasn't going to be gone for long, probably for about 2 hours. This was also on a hot summer day. When Kelly got back from her doctor's appointment, she went to check up on her daughter and noticed that her daughter's hair was wet. Now, Kelly's parents knew to never allow Kelly's daughter to go play out back, especially after what happened to Kelly. Kelly's mom assured her that she had given her daughter a bath and that's why her hair was wet, so Kelly decided to just believe her. It wasn't until later on that night that she's putting her daughter to bed that her daughter starts to babble and kind of tell her what really happened. Her daughter then begins to tell her about the woman dressed in white that watched her as she swam that day. Kelly became sick to her stomach. It was almost like her heart dropped and she was terrified. She couldn't even sleep that night. She decided to go outside and go talk to her neighbors, who happened to be the grandmother of one of the kids that she was with that day, 14 years ago. Her neighbor then begins to tell her that she knows who the woman is, but cannot tell her out loud, but she can write it down for her. The elderly from that area are extremely superstitious, so she felt like just speaking on it would waken something up. And here I am telling the story. Put your headphones on. She began to tell her that in the year 1895, a woman was drowned in that river after it was claimed that she was going around unaliving a bunch of children in that same river. Some people say that the whole story was made up, and the real reason she was drowned was because she was extremely beautiful and she caught the attention of a lot of married men, and a lot of the other women from the town did not like her. But once she became pregnant by one of the married men, the woman from the town decided to seek revenge and they drowned her. Now she goes around seeking revenge, and a lot of the elderly neighbors know exactly who she is and have had their own encounters with her. Now Kelly understands why her grandmother would always tell her never to swim in that stream, especially late at night, because that is how her grandmother's little sister passed away. She drowned, and it is believed that it was that woman that got to her.
My mom said my little sister is an angel, but when I threw her out of the balcony, she didn't fly. I should not be laughing at that. My brother told me once, Gabs, there's someone in my closet. I told him, no there isn't. I opened up the closet to see my brother inside. I mean, at that point, they're both catching these hands. I do not care. I always wondered why my mom never let me leave the house, so I snuck outside and wandered around. Then I saw a paper. Why did it have a picture of me? I always thought my cat had a staring problem. It turned out it was always looking behind me. Fuck no. My mom always used to say doorbells stop people from knocking. So I don't know why she said we had to move when I asked for a doorbell on my window.
If a website ever asks you these questions, don't do what she did. Once there was a girl named Masha who heard that there's a new service that gives everyone free internet access, so she decided to use it, but this would lead to something horrifying for Masha and her family. After she connected to this internet service, a web page popped up asking her to register some information, but the questions were oddly personal. It asked, what's your usual mode of transportation? With a photo of a bus, a boat, a train, and a plane. Masha took her bike to school every day, so she clicked on the train instead. But the next day, the local news showed that there was a horrific train crash that killed everyone on board. Masha thought that this was a coincidence, but soon she'd realized that she made a deadly mistake. Later, she needed to use the internet again, so she logged back in. This time it asked, what kind of home do you live in? Along with 4 different pictures of different types of homes. She clicked apartment even though her and her family lived in a house. And the next day, the apartment building near her school burned down. The police suspected arson. Then she went back to the internet server one last time, but this time it showed a photo of her mother, father, sister, and herself with the question, who is your favorite family member? Can you solve this mystery? This is a story about the murder of a group of kids that went to the same school, but things are not as simple as they seem. Someone is hiding something, and all the clues to what really happened are hidden in what I'm about to say. After the tragic murders of these boys, they had to each be buried in closed caskets because their bodies were so badly beaten. But someone noticed something strange at the funeral. He was a friend of one of the boys' parents, and he saw an elderly woman sitting alone, someone that he didn't recognize. When the funeral was over, she quietly went over to each headstone with a smile and placed a clover next to each one. Then she said a silent prayer. He thought she must be one of the dead boys' grandmas. He asked her, why did you place a clover on their graves? She replied, it's a happy flower. It brings good luck. You see, my grandson died too, but it was a different incident. He was bullied for a long time, and one day he couldn't take it anymore. He hung himself in the school bathroom. The elderly woman began crying and left. He felt bad for her, but something felt off. That night, he decided to Google what clovers mean. It said that they were the symbol for revenge. What really happened here? Can you solve this mystery?
I'm alone and you hear a knock, don't answer the door. That was my grandmother's one rule when she left me the family house. I thought it was just the rantings of an old woman. I didn't know how real the rule was until the other night. The house I inherited was deep in the forest, far from bustling city noises. Silence was the unspoken language here, except sometimes you would hear the owls. But the other night when I was sitting in the living room reading a book, that's when I heard it. There was a single knock at the front door. And then I remembered my grandmother's warning. If you're home alone and you hear one knock, don't answer the door. I looked over at my grandfather clock in the corner. It was midnight. I told myself that the knock was just a figment of my imagination. It was just the house settling, or a fallen branch against the door. But then it came again, a single solitary knock. But this time it sounded closer. I was panicking. I just stood there staring at the door. The third knock was so loud that it made the door rattle. There was no more denying it. Something was at the door. I held my breath, hoping that if there was something there, it would just leave. Minutes started to tick by, and then I heard it. It was so faint that part of me thought it wasn't even real. And I know you guys are dying to know what it said. Let me in. I was terrified, and that's when I remembered the attic. If I could make it up to the attic, there was a lock inside. As I ran up the stairs, I could hear the whispers growing louder. Once I got into the attic, I bolted the door shut. After a while, the whispering stopped. I didn't dare move. I didn't dare breathe. Minutes turned into hours, and soon the darkness of light started to turn into the morning glaze. I'm pretty sure Grandma's rule kept me alive, and now I fully understood it. The old house was not just a place of solitude. It was also home to something old, something terrifying. Whatever was on the other side was not of this world. So just remember Grandmother's rule.
This is why you should always lock your doors. A junior in high school was home alone working on a paper while his parents were out to dinner. All night he sits with his back to his door, sitting at his desk with his noise-canceling headphones on. Around 11 o'clock, he takes his headphones off at the same time his parents are returning to the house, and he hears his mom from downstairs yell, "Hey Adrian, what happened?" Confused, he runs downstairs and sees right away what she's looking at, muddy footprints all over the rug. He tells her, "I didn't leave my desk." And then they realize someone must have broken in. They look at the footprints and there's none leaving the house. They're worried someone's still in the house, so they run into the garage, terrified, call the police. Police arrive and they don't find anyone in the house, but they do make a chilling discovery upstairs. The police bring them to the kid's bedroom door, which had been left open all night, and they point to the message written on it in Sharpie. This is the actual transcript of what was written on his door, which means for nearly 2 hours, someone stood in this kid's doorway watching him.
This is why you should not listen to your teacher. Once something terrifying happened to Sophia when she got to school. She went to class as usual when her teacher burst into the room and said, "Sophia, I have some bad news." She was shocked and embarrassed to be called out like that in front of her whole class. Her teacher then said, "Get your things, I just got off the phone with your father. He said your mom was in a horrible accident and he's gonna pick you up now and take you to the hospital." Sophia instantly froze in horror. She tried to explain, but her teacher kept interrupting her. "Why are you just standing around? Get your things now." But Sophia wouldn't move. She knew something wasn't right. She said, "I don't have a father. He passed away long ago and I never got to meet him. I was raised by a single mother all my life." To this day, Sophia still doesn't know who that man was claiming to be her father and what he planned to do if she had gone with him.